Hey everyone, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please be sure to leave a 5-star rating and follow. Okay, folks, let's start with the charts because Bitcoin is still knocking at the door of the 200-day moving average, or what some may call the 200-day simple moving average. And we're looking for a breakout above there. There is a CME gap around 84,000. So we're expecting Bitcoin to get there, but there's no guarantee. One of the things I highlighted in yesterday's podcast is we could hear some very bullish news from the Trump administration on the strategic Bitcoin reserve. We're expecting that from Patrick Witt. So let's see if that news is strong enough where it can be a catalyst to drive some bullish momentum, and we'll see how high Bitcoin does go. But one thing we do have to be cautious about is Bitcoin is at the top of the channel. The rising channel has been at since $68,000, I believe it is, or 58,000, I should say. And we've been obviously chopping within that channel. So if it's at the top and it doesn't have the strength to break through, it can get rejected and go to the bottom of the channel, which is about $70,000 right now. Obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, but we can't rule it out, right? We have to be prepared for all scenarios as educated, informed investors. However, one of the things we've been talking about is that there's a rotation happening to altcoins, and we're seeing many altcoins pop off. But before we get there, the MACD still shows the bulls are in control, but it's getting weaker and weaker. They're losing momentum. So this is something we got to keep an eye on. And hopefully, again, we get some bullish news that helps Bitcoin to break through to go higher and potentially overshoot to 90K. That would be pretty amazing. But if we look at the total altcoin market cap, the total 3 chart, which excludes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, that is breaking out and bulls are in control on that. And as we talked about in yesterday's podcast, we're seeing individual coins like SWI, Ondo, and others start to break out. In fact, Solana is starting to see a move here. Nothing like what we saw with Ondo or SWI, but it is on the rise. And I expect XRP as well as Ethereum to eventually catch up, but we're going to have to be patient, but things are looking good here. One catalyst that is going to help crypto to continue to move is the stock market. The S&P 500 closed a new all-time high today of 7,412. And the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Russell, all hitting new all-time highs. However, I've been sounding the alarm, and I wrote about it in today's newsletter. It's very overheated. It's in the overbought zone. So we got to be careful here, because if the stock market does pull back significantly, it will be the gravitational pull will bring crypto down with it, right? So let's see how long the stock market can hang out up here, and crypto maybe, even if the stock market rolls over, crypto still has the momentum to keep going. We shall see. But these are things to keep in mind, right? Now, as it relates to altcoins, we're still seeing Bitcoin dominance dropping. So that's a very good sign for alts, that the liquidity will start flowing over to alts, and we're going to see many of them start to pop off. And speaking of liquidity, Tether minted another billion USDT today. And one of the things we often track is USDT dominance, because that stablecoin liquidity, a lot of it does make its way into the crypto market, being used to invest in Bitcoin as well as altcoins. So that is showing bearish on the chart right now, and shows that there's more room for it to drop per the RSI, and the MACD shows the bears are in control of that. So you're seeing the inverse, right? The alts and Bitcoin are moving up, bullish momentum, while Bitcoin dominance and USDT dominance are dropping. Those are things you want to see. Now, I know there are going to be some Bitcoin maxis who are going to say, I don't care about altcoins. I just want Bitcoin dominance to keep going up. But look, we live in reality. Bitcoin dominance does run up first, because Bitcoin runs up first, but then it usually becomes overbought. It cools down, and then the rotation happens to the altcoins. So all the important things that we want to see from the metrics are here, guys. So this is very, very good. Now, we are seeing a lot of adoption of Bitcoin and buying via ETFs as well as digital asset treasury companies. For example, Michael Saylor tweeted out today that Strategy acquired 535 Bitcoin for approximately $43 million at an approximate price of $80,340. They now hold over 818,000 Bitcoin. Now, notice the buy amount is very small, right? So Saylor recently said they may have to sell some Bitcoin. So I think he's probably waiting for a little higher prices losses, and then they're going to take some profits, it seems like. But you can see the buy amount is smaller compared to what he was doing before, buying hundreds of millions of dollars, near billions, right? So this is something to pay attention to. I don't want strategy to collapse, but I am seeing things that worry me and have been for years because of the amount of leverage, the amount of debt this guy has raised to buy Bitcoin. He's not simply doing what, for example, Tesla and SpaceX did, take some of their cash on their balance sheet and buy some Bitcoin, but they still have a cash position. They still hold other assets as well. He's not doing that, right? So this is a very, very different type of business, and there's a lot of debt involved here. So hopefully everything works out. And speaking of digital asset treasury companies, Capital B raises $17.8 million to expand its Bitcoin treasury. And the investors include Adam Back and Tobam, saying proceeds could help add 182 Bitcoin to its treasury. So this is over in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. And we have digital asset treasury companies around the world. Many of them are Bitcoin focused. You have some ETH, you have some XRP, Solana focused ones. So they're continuing to buy, which is a very good sign. Okay, guys, the big news of the day is that the greedy bankers are continuing to push back on the stablecoin yield compromise. We recently heard from Senator Tom Tillis as well as also Brooks, the two senators who worked on the compromise, and they had this finalized, and this helped get the Clarity Act to move forward to the markup phase, which is happening this Thursday. But we learned this morning that American Bankers Association CEO Rob Nichols sent a letter on Sunday to every other bank CEO in the country asking bankers for immediate engagement on stablecoin yield policy. Now, if you guys recall, this was not the first attempt to try to override or change the compromise. They've been trying to push back in different ways. So this is just another pathetic attempt. So these guys are not operating in good faith. Again, the crux of this issue is these banks want to continue to give you breadcrumbs, 0.01%, while they pocket the majority of the interest they're earning, parking the money at the Fed, right? They want to keep their big bonuses at the end of the year. You think Jamie Dimon wants to give up that power? Well, hell no, right? But this is where disruptive technology is offering the consumer the ability to earn more. And the consumer should have that option, because these greedy banks, again, they just want to give you the breadcrumbs while they take the majority of the money they're earning. So these guys are pushing back, and a lot of folks have weighed in. White House crypto advisor Patrick Witt weighed in on the news saying, I specifically requested the attendance of Mr. Nichols and other bank trade CEOs at the meetings we hosted back in February to resolve the stablecoin reward/yield issue. They refused. I guess the White House was beneath them, he asked. In their defense, I wouldn't want to have to defend their position in public either. So he's taking the gloves off and calling them out publicly. Senator Bernie Moreno highlighted this news saying the banking cartel is in full panic mode. While Americans were celebrating Mother's Day with their families, the CEO of the American Bankers Association sent a frantic alert to every bank CEO in the country, demanding immediate engagement to lobby senators and kill stablecoins that would finally let everyday Americans earn real yields on their money. Again, the gloves are coming off. They're calling out these guys by name on social media, and some big names are involved here. Cody Carbone, who I recently interviewed, and I published that interview on Saturday where we talked about a lot about these things. He said the arrogance is astounding. For months, the banking lobby refused to engage on stablecoin rewards. They didn't make this a red line during the Genius Act. He's right. The Genius Act went through and passed, and all of a sudden they want to make it an issue. They didn't stop the House from advancing clarity. Now, days before the markup, after months of saying we won't negotiate, they're suddenly demanding immediate engagement. Cody adds, bad faith policymaking and an 11th hour attempt to protect incumbents from competition. Spot on. But what's interesting, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong is scheduled to speak at the Senate GOP steering lunch on Wednesday, per multiple sources familiar with the plan. This comes as the Senate Banking Committee is slated to mark up the bill, the Clarity Act, on Thursday. So Brian Armstrong played a key role in shaping the bill, of course. So let's see, guys. The battle is on here, banks versus crypto. But I think as long as the two senators who worked on that compromise stand their ground, I don't think these banks are going to have much to say here. But look, you never know. You never know, right? They could be on the phone saying, "Hey, Senator XYZ or ABC, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars for the midterm elections." Right? That could sway people. We know how it works, guys. Money in politics, right? If you don't know how the game works, this is your wake-up call. I've been down in DC to lobby and I've seen it, and it's about money. So let's see. You never know. These banks have a lot of money, and they may be, saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you X amount of this. Come speak at our conference. We'll give you $2 million." Whatever. This is the game. This is how they do it. But I think there are enough senators even on the Democrat side to help get this through. And Jamie Dimon and his banking buddies, I think they've lost the war here. Now, speaking of crypto legislation, we got an update here. The Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley and Senator Cynthia Lummis have a deal to address law enforcement concerns in a landmark crypto bill, per two sources familiar. The deal allows prosecutors to bring AML charges against demonstrably culpable crypto actors. So this is your regular AML KYC enforcement, which makes sense. I think as long as they use it correctly, right, and they go after the bad actors, that's fine. And as long as they maintain our rights via the Constitution, you need to get data, get a warrant, right? That's the important part. They can't just go in and open up a file and see everything about you, what you've been doing. If they feel that you've been doing something wrong or breaking the law, get a warrant, and then they can get that information. Now, more legislation news. Congress members to hold bipartisan meeting to discuss crypto tax legislation. Now, I think many of you know what this is. It's the Parity Act, right? Or some version of it. I think after the Clarity Act is passed, this is the next major legislation we have to get done, because if you don't make the rules clear what people can do with staking, spending their crypto, and much more, it's not going to allow for full adoption. There will be some, with people doing certain things on blockchain and tokenizing and so forth. But if you want full mainstream adoption, you need to figure out the tax laws. So this is the next major item to tackle once Clarity Act is done. Now, the UAE officially allows residents to pay government fees with crypto. So this is a stark contrast from what we're dealing with here. But across the globe, we're seeing the embrace of crypto in many different ways. So this is very, very bullish. Okay, folks, quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by BitGo, the trusted infrastructure behind the digital asset economy. If you're serious about crypto, whether you're an investor, institution, or building in this space, you already know security, compliance, and execution are everything. And that's exactly what BitGo delivers. With over a decade of experience and 5,500 plus institutional clients across 100 plus countries, BitGo provides a full suite of services, including qualified custody, trading, staking, financing, and stablecoin infrastructure, all in one platform. Let's break it down. Want to launch crypto services fast? BitGo's crypto as a service lets banks, fintechs, and platforms go live in as little as a couple of months without dealing with complex licensing or infrastructure. If you're looking to launch a stablecoin, BitGo offers a complete stablecoin as a service platform, from reserves and smart contracts to compliance, built to align with the new U.S. regulatory framework that is the Genius Act. Want to earn rewards on your crypto? BitGo runs one of the largest institutional staking platforms with tens of billions staked across 50 plus networks, all while your assets stay securely in qualified custody. Need deep liquidity and execution? Their trading platform aggregates liquidity across 30 plus venues, giving you better pricing and the ability to trade directly from custody. No pre-funding required for approved clients. And if you need capital, BitGo offers crypto-backed financing, so you can unlock liquidity without selling your assets. So here's the bottom line. BitGo is one of the first federally chartered digital asset infrastructure companies offering regulated, insured custody and a platform built for institutions, but accessible to forward-thinking players across the space. So whether you're scaling a fintech, managing a fund, or building the future of finance, BitGo gives you all the tools that you need to do this securely, compliantly, and at scale. So learn more at bitgo.com and see why the biggest players in crypto trust BitGo.
Okay, moving ahead, huge news around Circle, the issuer of the USDC stablecoin. We have major Wall Street firms investing in Circle's blockchain called ARK. So Circle raises $222 million from BlackRock, Apollo, and others in ARK token pre-sale valued at $3 billion. This is kind of like an ICO. It's amazing. You have these major Wall Street firms acting as VCs. If you know the history of the market and the big VCs and hedge funds that have been involved in crypto, buying tokens early, it's fascinating to see big institutions, the biggest of the biggest, like BlackRock, getting involved. So the pre-sale of the token tied to the ARK blockchain is giving the network a fully diluted network valuation of $3 billion. So Andreessen Horowitz led the investment. BlackRock, Apollo Funds, and Intercontinental Exchange are among roughly 12 financial heavy hitters that participated in the pre-sale. So notice the names: Andreessen Horowitz, right? Powerhouse, Apollo, and Intercontinental Exchange, also known as ICE, which is the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. So this is pretty incredible. Here's a quote: "We're entering the operating system business, and we're doing it by building this multi-stakeholder distributed model with a token, with a distributed network. And we're also getting into the apps business." This comes from Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire. Huge news. Now, this is not the first go round for big firms like Apollo and BlackRock. If you recall, in the past 6 months, we heard of Apollo investing in Morpho, right, which is the lending protocol. BlackRock invested in Uniswap. They bought the actual tokens, by the way. Citadel and ARK both took positions in ZRO. I believe that's Zero Hash, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but Zero token. Let me just confirm that, because I don't want to give you guys the wrong information here. Layer Zero, not Zero Hash, excuse me. Layer Zero with a ticker symbol ZRO. So again, look at the names that are taking these positions, guys. So if you as an investor, you have a long-term outlook, right? Because we have to get out of this bear market, which I think we're coming out of, but we have to fully get out of it. You're going to look at this: BlackRock bought Uniswap. Let me buy Uniswap when it's down, when there's blood on the streets. Let me buy Morpho or Zero. It's not a guarantee that they're going to pump and go to the moon. But hey, if you know the amount of liquidity is coming into these tokens, you know what's going to happen. Same thing with Circle's ARK, which it's not obviously publicly available yet, right? This was a pre-sale. If you know these big names are behind it, you want to make sure that you pay attention, and you could potentially take a position. Now, I wouldn't take a position as soon as it launches, just like a IPO, right? It becomes overvalued. Some of the stakeholders take their profits. You wait till it goes down. Take your position when there's blood on the streets and everybody's like, oh, it's dead. It's not coming back. Look at it crashed, right? Obviously, there's other factors you need to look at: fundamentals, the company's in a good place. But the point is, your foundation could be, look at the big names who are involved, because not a lot of people are paying attention to this. So this is very, very interesting, and big moves from the largest financial institutions. Now, speaking of Circle, Circle makes USDC push into AI agent payment tools. So we're seeing a lot of building around AI agents, because this is going to be a big part of the economy, and these AI agents are going to use blockchain tech, and obviously for payments, they're going to use stable coins. So Circle launched a suite of tools designed to let AI agents hold wallets, discover services, and make programmable payments using USDC as companies race to build financial infrastructure for autonomous software systems. The products released under Circle's new agent stack include agent-focused wallets, a command line developer interface, a marketplace for agentic services, and a nano payments protocol for machine-to-machine transactions. Circle said nano payments infrastructure supports gas-free USDC transfers as small as 0.000001 cent here, I guess you would call it, and is designed for high-frequency autonomous payment flows between software systems. Do you see what's being built here? It's amazing. And, I've talked a lot about AI agents, my own plans, what I'm looking into doing. So this is something you guys should explore, how you can leverage it. as an investment, as working in the industry, as an entrepreneur, right? Or even just helping you in your everyday life. So we're still early, but you can certainly explore what items are out there and how you can get ahead of the curve. Okay, moving ahead, Ripple receives $200 million credit line to expand institutional prime brokerage. Ripple's doing a lot, man. Their ecosystem is flourishing. They're doing a lot with the XRP ledger and their stablecoin RLUSD. So Ripple has secured a $200 million credit facility from funds managed by Neuberger Berman to expand the lending capacity of its institutional prime brokerage business, highlighting continued demand for financing services in the digital asset market. The company said on Monday that the debt facility will allow its Ripple Prime unit to offer more margin loans and offering financing products to hedge funds, trading companies, and other institutional clients active in both crypto and traditional markets. Ripple Prime President Noel Kimmel said the additional capital will help the unit serve a broader range of institutional clients as demand for crypto financing and brokerage services continues to grow. Now, Ripple is not only offering financing on XRP, but I think Bitcoin and other digital assets and doing things and as well as their stablecoin. So they continue again to grow and do a lot of great things. All right, moving ahead. Kraken parent Payward seeks fresh funding at $20 billion valuation ahead of planned IPO. Man, Kraken's been on a tear. They just recently acquired a big stablecoin company for $600 million. And it's smart. They're doing a lot of building, expanding their network, and doing it ahead of their IPO, which will help give them a higher valuation and to raise more capital. So just incredible. So guys, this is going to be a big IPO when Kraken goes live. It's fascinating, and as always, I'm not going to be buying the stock when it goes live, but when it starts crashing after its initial pump, then I'll be grabbing it up, right? Obviously, following some technical analysis, obviously looking at the macro factors and much more. In fact, I was telling you guys about the Circle stock, that I was not investing in it when it went live, but when it crashed, bought some. So I believe it's now on the rise. Yeah, it's definitely up. And I think as the crypto market grows and Clarity Act passes, a lot of these crypto stocks are going to pump like crazy. So I think the folks at Kraken are probably waiting for that. Look, smart move on their part, right? Okay, moving ahead. MoonPay makes prediction markets push with Dawn Labs buy AI tool launch. So MoonPay doing a lot of great stuff. They're also doing a lot of innovations and acquisitions. So, financial technology company MoonPay announced the launch of an AI technology tool for trading strategies on prediction markets following its acquisition of Dawn Labs for an undisclosed amount. MoonPay said Monday that it had launched Dawn CLI in an effort to facilitate trading strategies in plain English, citing activity on prediction markets, platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi. Dawn Labs founder Neeraj Prasad said the tool would democratize trading by general intelligence. So I love what MoonPay is doing. They are innovating like crazy. The move closer to prediction markets comes as Kalshi and Polymarket face several state-level lawsuits over allegations that the companies are illegally facilitating sports betting and other activities not permitted by state law. Until December 2025, Caroline Pham, MoonPay chief legal officer, was a commissioner and acting chair at the CFTC, which has since claimed exclusive jurisdiction over the prediction markets. Now, by the way, guys, I will be interviewing Caroline Pham very soon. So we're going to talk about her time at the CFTC, all the great things MoonPay is doing, and much more. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. Be sure to grab a copy. It's available in paperback and digital. And if you want to expand your knowledge around crypto and blockchain technology, I have a course at mycryptocourse.com, which is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know. It features expert commentary, which no other crypto course offers. And right now we got a huge bear market sale. You get 50% off the price of the course by using the code BEAR, BEAR at checkout. So guys, again, knowledge is power. So you want to expand your knowledge, this is the course for you. Go to mycryptocourse.com. All the links will be in the description. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.